Well, hello, man cavers. We are back with our little hit and miss. Now then, the videos on this seem to be going down quite well. We still have lovely turn till we get to there. So I've had a thought. I have a sneaky feeling, and this is really coincidental because not 10 minutes ago did Mr. Rusty Relics say, I don't think the cylinder's in line with the thing. I was thinking the same thing, which is why I'm doing this video. It's really weird. The message just came through. It looks like that cylinder needs to be twisted this way. So I'm going to try and remove this cylinder somehow and see if we get it. But what I was going to do first, take out piston conrod and actually hold it out the back here and put it on and just see if I can turn this and hold the piston, and that'll tell me if there is room in there for this. But I think, look at this gap. That to me looks like that's way over to the left. Or is that an optical illusion? Do you see what I mean? It looks way over to the left hand side. So we're going to try and take this cylinder off. I'm looking at the tolerances in here. These crank blocks, to see if I can see any inconsistencies where the crank could move over. There's no real way to do that. Sort of, I don't know, sort of machining new big ends or new big end caps. Main bearing caps, beg your pardon, to actually allow this lot to come over a bit. But if you do look, this cylinder, there's a gap here. Oh, let's see. Look at it from this side. It's like there's a step this side, and at the front, it's sort of stepped in, and at the back, it's stepped out. It's like the whole cylinder needs twisting. But we're going to see if we can get the cylinder off. Let me get you set up on a tripod. And, yeah, we'll be back. Alright, so I hope you guys understood what I meant when I said about... taking this piston off and having it out the back. That'll tell us if the conrod will spin free on that crank. So we're just going to buzz this big end off. And a lot of you guys, I think, were spot on. I can't remember the name now, but some of you said it looks like a bits and pieces engine. So I actually looked it up on YouTube, and yeah, I think you're right. I've spotted pretty much that guy. What was his name? I can't remember now, but he did have exactly the same engine. And I was like, oh. So were they one-offs built by him and someone just built a copy, or were they a factory, or well, not a factory engine, but were they a sort of different engine, a proper one you could actually buy? I really don't know. So bleep bloop in the comments if you know what I mean. So, no, we're not going to take this out yet, are we? No, of course we're not. Yes, we've got to get the piston out. Right, we'll just pop this out. And we'll put that conrod on the back, sticking out the back here. And I'll hold the piston and turn the flywheels and make sure that don't snag up. If it do snag up, we'll know our journals and conrod are wrong. If it don't snag up and that all feels alright and everything buttoned down nicely, we'll know we've got an alignment problem. But I would really like to persevere with this little thing, because that guy I was telling you about, the videos of his I watched, oh, don't these sound nice when they're running? There we go. Let's pull this piston out. She's out. Let's plop this all back in. Say there is no way you can align this crank any different. It's all machined to actually fit in its cradle. See, everything's just going back in right. You can't even re-drill it and move it over, but again, that's a bodge. Some of you have said maybe this was never built to be a running engine, just a model. I don't know. If it weren't built to be a running engine and it was just a model, why would you go to trouble of making piston rings for it, which are never going to be seen? That's what makes me think that maybe the guy did build this to run because he went to the time of putting rings in it. And not just one ring, 2 rings. You know, he didn't skimp out. He's actually gone and put 2 piston rings in it. So it makes me think that maybe... Right. Yeah, that makes me think that maybe this was actually designed to be a running engine. Right, these main bearing journals are down and it's spinning lovely and freely. See that? Spinning lovely. I think if it weren't on that cam gear, that'd keep spinning for ages. We've got no sideways play on that. No up and down play on it at all. This is really good. Right, let's get... So I think, yep, this piston, we had this gouge come this side. So we're going to put that back this side on here, look. And straight away, without even bolting it down, it's passing without catching. Let's get this big end cap on. Let me get it out the grip. There you go. We'll try and get this big end cap back on. Right, where did that come off? This end. Yeah, that definitely needs shimming. I know one of you said you should really machine the hole out. I can understand why he's done it like this, where you put shims in. So if it does wear, you can just take the shim out and put a thinner one in. I mean, a lot of old engines were like that anyhow. You had shimmable big ends. My Ruston was like that. Or is like that, should I say. That's got shimmable big ends in it. Anyhow, let's just buzz this back up a little bit. And we'll see. Sorry if my arm's in the way, guys. Well, that's pretty much answered our question. It's turning, look. I can turn it on the piston. So we have no clearance issue there. See that? Can you actually see what I'm doing there? Yeah, you can. See, look. I can actually turn the engine over by pushing and pulling on the conrod. So yes, we have a cylinder alignment issue. Look at that. So it turns out I can even tighten these down a bit more now. Yes, perfect. Absolutely perfect, look. Look at that. No catching. So yeah, we have a cylinder alignment issue, guys. This is good news, I think. Now, I took the liberty of turning this engine upside down. And it looks like the cylinder is held on with 4 Allen keys. I also took the liberty of just putting an Allen key in them and cracking them off to make sure they were actually going to undo. And they have been cracked off quarter a turn and they will undo. So, right, let's see if we can get... Let me take this oiler out. So that's not sitting on that nut. let's just take this off. Here we go. Here is the underside. There you go. Now I think what's going on here, you can't see from there, but I think these bolts, these ones here, 1, 2, 3, or 2, 4, 6, however you want to look at it, I think they actually hold this base plate to the engine bed. So I don't think that got to come out. I think it's these four what actually hold the cylinder on. I don't know why these keys have been put in there, because they're stopping you from indexing it. But see what I mean? It's all out of alignment. Look at the gap at the front here. It's hard to see. Let me get my pick tool. So you've got a gap at the front there, and only a very small gap this side, but a big one this side. It's like the cylinder has been put on slightly out of square. Now, how are we going to do this if it is like that? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, because you're not going to be able to realign it and re-drill through these original holes, because it's just going to push the cylinder back. So how we'd actually hold that, I don't know. I don't want to be bodgy and weld it. Although if you did hold it in place so it is perfectly aligned and put a spot of arc weld in there and there, I can't see why that would hurt. We would have to look, or even a spot of MIG, especially if I got it done properly. I got just the man for the job who could actually probably put a little bit of weld in there once this is perfectly aligned. We'll see. I don't like my chances because I don't have machining capabilities at the minute. I'm no machinist, never have been, but I would absolutely love to get a metal lathe. And once me and Mrs. Man Cave have moved, I am going to get a lot bigger workshop built in our new garden, and I'm going to have a machine shop in there, which in time I'm going to treat myself to an old metal lathe. And, you know, yeah. But I'm no machinist, so I either need lessons or to learn. Right, here we are. I have cracked these off just to make sure they are going to come undone. Oh, crikey, they're long. They definitely hold that cylinder on, don't they? So let's see if we can actually get this cylinder off. But no, watching that other gent, and he had this exact engine, or one exactly like it, and when he started it, I was amazed how nice these ran. Absolutely amazed. They ran a lot slower than I thought they would. But then again, this is a damn heavy engine, so for its size, it's very heavy. It's not a little cheap Chinese, cylinder off. Well, that was nice and easy. Okay. Right. There was me fretting about, is the cylinder going to come off very easy? He's put a bar in here, look. That's not a peg, that's a bar. Can you see this? This is actually a bar which he's machined to actually hold it in line. And I think that's totally wrong. I really do think that's totally wrong. I think what we need to do is see if we can get this bar out of here. I'm hoping that will pry out quite easily. There you go. Perfect. So that bar is out. Right. Can't see why he put that in there really. Let's clean these mating surfaces up. Right, there's a bit of crap on them mating surfaces. But I'm thinking now. There we go, that's the mating surface. Now I can't help thinking, if we put this piston back in, connect it back up, when we turn the engine till that free spin, we'll know when this is aligned, don't we? And then we've got to somehow hold that in. I don't think my little household drill press would actually gnaw a hole through to put fresh holes in. So I don't know how we're going to hold that. I wonder if you could hold that, once it's lined up, if you could hold that with like an epoxy resin on the mating surfaces, and once that's dry, put that tack of weld in the bottom, like I was saying, just to hold the cylinder to the bed plate. I really don't know. What do you guys think? Because I say I don't have machining stuff here to actually do a lot of machining. Let's slide our piston back in. We can see right in that cylinder now. Look, that is brand new in there. Right. This is really exciting news. Really exciting. There we go, that's oiled that cylinder. And this is the way that goes. So let's now put this back on here. Get our big end cap on. Yeah, we'll just get our big end cap back on here. And then we can see if we can get this engine moving freely. Oh, I think that's the way it goes on. That's starting by hand. Yeah, that one's starting by hand. Right. So we're indexing these correctly. So is this doing what you thought it was going to do? Oh, I can see what the problem is. When that's on that base plate, you've physically got to force this piston over. There's a little bit of tightness here, but I think that's in the cylinder. So I think we've got to align with our valve. Yeah, we've got to align this all with our valve. Look at that. If that's held there, it's lining up perfectly. That's lining up perfectly with that exhaust valve. And spinning, look. See that? If I hold that cylinder there, look. Can you see that? That's our problem. That is our problem. Nothing wrong with this crank at all. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It is a misaligned cylinder. Do need to make a little shim on this big end though. Like that. Wow, there you go guys. Definitely a misaligned cylinder. Yeah. So let's see just how far out it was. Yeah, if you try and twist that straight, no, that still works. Even if you twist it straight, it works. I'm looking how much we've got, how much compression gap we've got. We'd want that piston actually hitting on the head. We want a little gap there. That is spot on. It was a misaligned cylinder all along, look. That is spinning very freely now. There. Perfect. Do you know, let me show you these marks down here. Let me bring you down here and show you where that key went. That's where the key went. Extremely close. It's like, it's just that tiny, tiny, tiny bit out. I mean, that key mark looks like that keyed piece of metal he got would go back in there. It really does. But when you put that in, it's just not right. Let's lie it in and just make sure that it weren't that fraction. Let's make sure it weren't that fraction. Right, it's lined up back on its key. And it turns. On that key, it turns. It must have been just a fraction out. I think that key actually come out this way. Right. Whoops, let me see if we can get this key in just I'm looking where the painted surface was. It's painted at the bottom, so I think that must be the front and the bottom what you could see. So I think that key actually went in there like so, because it was a tight fit, wasn't it? That key was a tight fit in there. No, that's a sloppy fit, that side. Let's turn it round to make sure I didn't have it wrong. Turn him round. Now, I wonder if we just need to file a little bit of that off each end of this, just so that'll fit back in there a bit neater. Right guys, I've had a little file up, but I can't seem to get this key to fit back in here anyhow. Right, shall we? I'll give it a little file up, but it seems extremely tight. I mean, it came out of there, and it certainly I wouldn't have thought. Oh, I'm an idiot. All right. Yes, you're saying this took you this long to work that out. It did go in this way. So it comes this way. So there's your blue painted bottom and side. It comes this way. Right. I wonder, if we put the bolts back in, is there enough jiggle room in them to do that? Because maybe we could just have these holes enlarged a tiny bit to give us a little bit of wiggle room. because that cylinder want to sit back there. That's where it's indexed into. You put it on, the exhaust valve lines up, and it seems to want to index. Yeah, it wants to index itself here. So let's put that piston in. Get them rings in. There you go. Where does that now want to index? There. Right, that cylinder is indexed. And it's turning, look. So, with old matey's index and things here, look at that. Exactly how it should be. Exactly. But if we move it over, it ain't right. Yeah, I can see the nub of the problem here. Come on, let me spin this engine around. And hopefully you can see the nub of the problem too. So our cylinder is, let's get the valve lined back up. Valve lined back up. Engine turns great. That is turning so good now. No machining off here needed. But look. Look at that gap. That's where, there's his holes where it bolts on. There's no way you're going to get screws back in them holes. And if you put it over there, as you can see, it's out again. It's too far to the left. So we have got to move that slightly to the right. And we've got, you can't see it, I can't do it while holding it. But you can see now that if we move over, yeah, we're perfectly in line with the valve and the rocker, look. See that? That's sitting better on there now than it did before. But we have this little gap here. So we need to hold our cylinder right there. Can't reuse these original holes because I can see half a hole there. So how do we do this, guys? I think I have a couple of options. Both involve holding this on here pretty permanent. I could take it somewhere, get it re-drilled in that position. But that ain't something I can do myself. Unless one of you guys local to Norfolk have the machining and the ability, and I bring it over to you. And we do it on video together. So if any of you guys are interested, and you're relative, you know, within an hour and a half of Norfolk, and you're interested in refixing this cylinder on here for me, I'm more than happy to bring the engine over to you, and we can make a video of it, and then you can be on YouTube as well. But yeah, do you see what I mean? Now that's held there, spot on. Our gap is all right, all perfect. This is where it naturally wants to sit. Yeah, it naturally wants to sit there. And we have no binding issue. Look at that. We've got a good gap on the crankshaft as well now. In fact, you could, if you wanted, move the engine over to there as even better. But look how much gap we've got. But we've got equal gaps. See that? Equal gap there. Equal gap there. So we've got good gaps on here. It looks central on the piston, but it is this far over. So we've got a little bit on the conrod. So we could get away with. Such a shame. There's no easy way to do this short of remaking the entire bed plate. And that would really, really destroy the originality of the old boy's work. Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to do it. I think this bed plate has either been made so the crank is not quite central, or this cylinder hasn't been bolted on quite central. Do you know what I mean? There's something awry to stop that lining up perfect. Is this crank not quite need to be twisted back that way to improve it? I do not know, but I know now, sitting there, this is perfect. Now, normal man cave would hit the hot stick out and put a bead of pigeon shite along there and then grind him off to even him up. But I don't want to do that on this. I want it neat. I want it neat. Now, the other way we could do is, like I said, again, that's very permanent, but we could get up in there and hide some weld there to there. But I don't particularly want to do that. I would like it really as original as I could get it. But we need to somehow realign this. So if any of you guys are up for the challenge of realigning this thing, let me know. Be interesting. But yeah. Just getting that cam line back up. There you go. But say here, yeah, it's lining up perfectly with that valve. Way better than it did before. Where that cam, the one of the valve, that's lining up perfect. But we have this little gap here. But the engine is now turning freely. So that's going to be it for this video. It came to me the other night when I re-watched the video on the TV. I was watching myself and I thought, do you know, that cylinder do not look in line. So I had to nip outside at the dark of night and go, yeah, it is totally off kilter. But now we've got it back on there, indexed. Look how that turns. Let me put my hand over that. Yeah. Perfect, look. That need holding back right there. And I think that's our problem sorted. So guys, that is going to be it for this video. I am very, very impressed that finally we've come to the nub of this problem. And thank you very, very much for all your comments. Yeah, that spins absolutely beautifully now. Really does. There's no catching. No. No, there's no catching there at all. I reckon if this cylinder was put on here, and then I belt drew, you know, put some boiling water in there, lubed everything up, boiling water just to get the cylinder warm, lubed everything, ran this off an electric motor, I don't know, a couple of 300 RPM, and left it for a couple of hours. I reckon she'd break herself in really nicely before we even tried starting it. But yeah, we need to hold that cylinder on, guys. I don't particularly want to do a man cave bodge on it. So if any of you guys, like I say, are local and would like to help me out with holding this back on, maybe you have mills, better pillar drills than the damn thing I've got, and more expertise than I've got, and you wouldn't mind sort of, you know, oh, we'll just clamp that, put it in the thing, clamp it down, put a doohickey drill through it, tap some holes, put some bolts back in, it's bolted back on, and we can do something with this. I don't know. I don't know. But there you go, guys. That is going to be it for this video. Like and subscribe to Norfolk Man Cave. We will see you next time. I am over the bloody moon with that. Now I've sorted that out, I'm over the moon. That's brilliant. So yes, see you next time, guys. Bye-bye for now. Ah! The little odds and ends, hit and miss.